Hi, I'm Peter Smallage. I'm the New York State Extension Forester. I'm here today in a beautiful oak pine forest, and we're going to talk about how to measure the diameter of a tree. When I talk about the diameter of a tree, what I'm talking about is the diameter or the distance across the circle of the stem, and that's measured 4.5 feet above ground. That 4.5 feet is a standard height where we measure the diameter of a tree. That's called the diameter at breast height. There are a lot of reasons why we might want to measure the diameter of a tree. Part of that, and the biggest part of that, is because the diameter of the stem is proportional to the diameter of the crown. So a tree that has a large diameter stem will correspondingly probably have a large diameter crown. That allows you to compare trees in the same general vicinity to understand how they're growing. The crown of the tree is the receptor of sunlight, so the bigger the crown, probably the more vigorous that tree is. The bigger the crown, the bigger the stem. So we can make comparisons between trees. There are also many wood products that come from trees that are dependent upon the quantity of those wood products is dependent upon the amount of wood that's in that stem. Now remember, geometrically, the stem of this tree is really a cone. It's circular, it's widest at the base, and it tapers as it goes up. So if you remember the calculations for the volume of a cone, you know that you recall that if you know the diameter of that cone at one end, the taper of that cone, and the height of that cone, you can calculate the volume of wood in this stem. One of the wood products that's related to the volume is firewood. Many woodlot owners collect firewood from their woodlot, and every year they go out and safely, of course, cut trees, improving their woodlot and filling their firewood shed. If they go out in advance of cutting and measure trees and mark those trees for cutting, and record the diameter of those trees, they'll know how much firewood they'll be able to collect based on the number of trees they're going to cut. So for example, a 9-inch diameter tree, if you have about 10 9-inch diameter trees, that represents one full cord of firewood. However, if the trees are a little bit bigger, a 14-inch diameter tree only takes 3 14-inch diameter trees to make one full cord of firewood. Another product from trees is lumber. When we talk about measurements of lumber, we're talking about board feet. And a board foot is 12 inches by 12 inches by 1 inch thick, or any combination of dimensions that equals 144 cubic inches. So we can measure the diameter of a tree and calculate the amount of lumber that will come from that tree. We can take it a step further with a little more knowledge and information and grade the tree so that we can understand the quality of that lumber. When you buy property, when you buy woodland property, you're making an investment. And that investment will produce a number of different benefits for society, but also benefits for the owner. One of those benefits may be financial revenue. When you buy your woodlot, if you measure a sample of trees, you'll be able to calculate the volume of wood that you have in your woodlands, or you'd probably work with a forester to do this. From that, knowing that volume of wood in your woodlands, you'll be able to determine your basis or the financial investment that you have in just the timber. This is going to be to your advantage if you ever sell timber, because you can deduct that basis from the proceeds of the timber sale. Foresters that collect field research data almost always measure the diameter of a tree. The diameter of the tree is important because it tells us many things about the tree, including the vigor of the tree, the products and the changes, the growth rates of that tree, and also how that tree is responding to different management activities. So stem diameter is very important. And then finally, woodlot owners are interested in stem diameter because many of them want to know how well their trees are growing. They've done some management activity in the woods, and they're thinking about becoming a participant in the Northeast Timber Growing Contest. The Northeast Timber Growing Contest is an initiative of the New York Forest Owners Association and Cornell University Cooperative Extension through the Forest Connect program. This is an opportunity for owners to learn about the ecology of their woods, the management of the woods, and how they can influence the growth and vigor of trees in their forest, thereby improving the health and quality of their woodlands. So these are all a number of reasons why you might want to measure the diameter of the tree. Now, there are other ways to go about doing it. Some people will go out and just eyeball a tree, make an estimate on the diameter of that tree. For most of us, that's not going to be valid because we don't have adequate training or adequate experience. There's some foresters that work in the woods, and they're very accurate in how they can ocularly estimate or using their eye estimate the diameter of the tree. That will work if you have experience and training and if you're measuring hundreds of trees so that you can equalize the errors. So what do we need to do? You know, if we don't have the training and experience to be able to accurately perform ocular estimation, we need a special tool. And that special tool is called a diameter tape, or a D-tape. So a diameter tape is similar to most other tapes. This particular diameter tape is made of metal, and it's not calibrated in 1-inch units, but rather it's calibrated in pi units, or a length that's about 3.14 inches. So when we wrap this tape, and we're going to wrap it about 4.5 feet above ground, when we wrap this tape around the stem of the tree, we can measure the diameter of this tree by taping the circumference. So this tree is measured at about 15.6 inches in diameter. We wrapped the tape around the tree, it's calibrated in pi units, and from that we can estimate its diameter. Now you can see, of course, some potential sources of error in making these measurements. One of them is when we wrap the tape, if the tape has skew, and I'm exaggerating this, I would never do this in the field, but you can see here with the skew, where the tape is not perpendicular to the central axis of the stem, will overestimate the diameter of the tree. Now I measure this tree at 16.2 inches. You can also imagine that there might be branches or sticks or another small tree on the back side that you didn't see that would prevent you from accurately measuring the diameter of that tree. So that's all there is to measuring the diameter of a tree with a diameter tape. But let's say you're interested in participating in the timber growing contest of NIFOA and Forest Connect. In order to do that, you need to be able to take measurements at 2 points in time and be able to take the same measurement at the same location. The way to do that is, as part of that contest, you will learn that you need to put a tag with an aluminum nail about 12 inches off the ground. Then you place a stick that is exactly 3.5 feet in length. So between 12 inches and 3.5 feet, this gives us a repeatable spot on the tree that we can take our measurements. And for the purposes of the contest, it doesn't have to be exactly 4.5 feet. What's important is that it's exactly the same spot from one year to the next. The top of that stick is where we put our tape to take our measurement. We measure that tree at 15.6 inches. This is tree number 2112, so it would record in our data sheet 15.6 inches of diameter. And then we can compare that to previous measurements and to future measurements. So that's all there is to measure in a diameter tape. If you'd like more information about firewood management, timber management for lumber, or the Northeast Timber Growing Contest, you can go to the website forestconnect.info, or you can go to timbercontest.com. On both of these web pages, you'll find access to webinars and written publications that will help you understand and enjoy your woods. So get out into your woodlot, pay attention, think, have fun, and of course, act safely. I'm Peter Smallage. Thank you for joining us.